I'm from the Liverpool Region Mosque Network.
So the mosque in Southport comes under your network, I imagine?
Yeah, we're a collaboration between mosques across the Liverpool City region, Merseyside.
How are your friends or colleagues up at Southport reacting to this, Ibrahim?
Actually, they're taking it, very well in the sense that, they are very calm and appreciative of the support from the wider community and the police and everybody else. So I've been in contact with them this morning. They've said there's some damage to the mosque, but they're safe and well.
How, until last night, Ibrahim, how well integrated a society was Southport? No.
Do you mean the mosque? Or
yes,
do you mean...
so the local Muslim population living with the rest of the population in Southport, how well integrated was everyone, Ibrahim?
Yeah, very well integrated in the sense that, the mosque and the community has been there for many decades.
Yeah.
The kind of core community of Muslims, yes, it has increased in number over, recent years. However, the community has been there from the 70s.
Yes. So what would your message be to Muslims and to everyone as we wait for the truth to come out from what happened in Southport? Ibrahim?
I think Muslims are an integral part of society and, are just as hurt and upset by the reports that we had of this heinous crime. And the message to, the whole of the community is let's just wait for the facts to establish and let's help those who are grieving and mourning and support them.
I was just watching live last night, and I felt sorry for the police officers that were getting bricked.
Dead right, yeah.
Because they've got children at home and all, so it doesn't make you, you're just as bad as them if one of them got killed or whatever, because they've got children.
Dead
but
right.
I'd just like to pick up on, I think the media should stop saying far right. EDL and all them type of things, because you go back from like the Grande concert, the students in Nottingham, and now our children being massacred. People are angry. So that's totally wrong. Where the media, I think personally, they're stoking the fire a bit by saying, like I said, by saying far right and things like that. When children being massacred.
If they're chanting "English till I die, English till I die," and they've covered themselves with the cross of St George, what does that tell you about them?
Well, you might have some more. At the end of the day, the children are being massacred, so they're angry.
I wonder if you'd answer. I think we need to slow down. Children, thankfully, are not being massacred. Yes, there's been horrific, heinous crime, which is grotesque beyond all imagination. Fortunately, the thing that's made its news is it is not on a regular basis. But again, if you're chanting "English till I die" and covered with what do you think that makes you?
Well, it does look stupid, doesn't it? When there's
and isn't it the role of the media to give as many facts as we can? And indeed, do we not find ourselves in the problem in which we find ourselves in Southport because the media didn't give enough facts and people thought he was a Syrian asylum seeker? So when you can give some facts, isn't that what you do?
But you could say the same thing then about the airport when, the media were picking up on the poor officer that was kicking that bloke or whatever, but they didn't show the whole lot.
I think, again, we're going to have to differ because although it is appalling that those police officers were attacked, and bear in mind, who released the video of the officers being attacked? That would be the Manchester Evening News. That would be the local newspaper that released that. So it would be the media, the traditional media, that released that video. And while it explains the circumstances, I do think the officer who stomps on the head and kicks him in the face has rather lost control.
Yes, a bit. But what would you say then about the concert? That, from the Grande concert to the students that were killed in Nottingham and now these children.
Well, I mean, these are all separate cases and they're all hideous acts. As regards the people who were killed in Nottingham, if you've listened to the show, I've spoken to the mother, Barnaby Webber, of one of the young men, and I'm in total agreement. That man should not be in a hospital. Valdo Calderkane should be in a jail. I believe he did it. He knew exactly what he was doing. But again, you talk of massacre of children. It was horrific what happened there. But fortunately, the reason they stick in our memory is they are such isolated incidences.
I've seen a civilian on the news last night filming all that trouble going on his iPhone, smiling at the camera as if, this is an event. I don't know what sort of people were breeding.
Do you want children routinely identified when they're arrested in connection with crime?
Sorry, say that again.
Do you want youngsters, people below the age of 17 and below, routinely identified if they're arrested in connection with crime?
Well, it's a difficult one because you've got to protect their families
where
as well.
I go, which is it's due to the gravity of the crime. So, and I'm not minimising this for a moment, but
No.
if this young man had taken away, had stolen a car and set fire to it and whatever else, actually, no, we don't need to name him.
No,
But
no, we
because
don't.
of to use your word, the gravity of this instance, an appeal is made by the chief of police or chief constable. I've got to identify this guy because parts of Southport, and I think they've been infiltrated from outside. I've got real safety issues now in Southport.
Yeah, and the police on the foot soldiers on the ground are suffering the outcome of that because of all this trouble. All right, you would have had trouble, but not maybe as for prolonged
I think
periods
that's
like
true. I think that you're not going to stop everybody, but those who actually tune into LBC or Sky News or pick up the local paper, hang on a second, he's not from Syria, and he's not believed to be a Muslim, inasmuch as Rwanda is the predominant faith, happens to be Christianity. Jim, thank you. Joe's not a million miles from the scene of this story. He's in Formby. Joe, what can you sell me? Good morning.
Good morning. I think that, it was interesting. I agree with what you just said there about, the severity of the crime should level, whether or not the identities are released. But I think, last night's violence in particular, I don't think, although, the police said it was believed to be started by, a group of the EDL, or that's what the Echo have
that's
reported.
what they're suggesting, yep.
I don't think the wider, the sort of eruption of this into a much larger thing was due to that. I think it was due to, a frustration with the police as a main start, because you saw, attacks on the police as, being in the local area. I see lots of, various WhatsApp groups and, Instagram stories and that sort of thing through social media. But a lot of it was more aimed at the police than it was. I know there was a mosque that was allegedly targeted or was targeted. Mm-hmm. But it seems to be more of a frustration with the police. And again, this kind of social media side where it's both spreading the information of how to, where the protest was beginning and that sort of thing.
Frustration in what way for the police?
Well, personally, it's not something I can say that I particularly experienced, so I couldn't speak on that because that's not something I personally experienced. So,
I want to play you what the man who heckles the PM in a moment says, but his point is he believes the kids on our streets aren't safe as a result of this extraordinary, thank the Lord, rare occurrence. Do you fear for the safety of your children or your nieces or your nephews, whatever it might be, on the streets, Joe?
Absolutely. I think, fortunately, not my nieces and nephews aren't at an age where this would be this sort of thing would be. But knife crime and gun crime is still rife in our city, and it's daily we see reports from the Liverpool Echo that.
So let's listen to him again. This is what this man, I don't think he's been identified, shouts or certainly says to the Prime Minister.
How many more children are going to die in our streets, Prime Minister? How many more children? Are we going to do something? You've got your photos, off you go. Make a real change, Prime Minister. Make a real change! Our children! Go away!
What would you say to that man, Joe?
I think you can understand, you can hear his frustration, and you can understand it, and it's as I say before, it's daily that we see articles of people being stabbed, people being shot in the city, and whilst I'm sure the police are doing something, they're not doing enough. It's still rife in our city,
It is, and not just yours, I'm afraid, Joe. In London and in Birmingham and other cities as well, and in Leeds there's also trouble, and many other cities up and down the country. Joe, thank you. Oliver in Camberley, coming up on 20 to 9 if the time's important to you. Oliver in Camberley, what would you say to that man and that heckling?
What would I say to him? It's probably a little bit it's rude probably to heckle the Prime Minister. However, my point I think is slightly different, is that my understanding of the law, and I'm in no way a lawyer, is that the young people need to be protected. Yeah. However, I believe that there is provision for exceptional circumstances. So I put it to you, whether or not the fact that the Prime Minister and Home Secretary are able to rearrange their diaries within a 24-hour period in order to visit a absolutely heinous crime scene is in itself exceptional circumstances. I would suggest that passes the litmus test. But more importantly, we don't necessarily need to name the individual. I would suggest also that people who are local to where the individual is from probably know exactly who he is. But
they're about 20 minutes down the road, aren't they? And the tension is mounting in Southport.
Well, so here's the thing. I think that the government, the security services, however, the police, whoever it is, they need to actually release truthful and factual information and release it quickly, sufficient to counter the unsubstantiated rumours.
On a 17-year-old.
But is it exceptional circumstances?
Oh, okay, sorry. So you're coming back to my argument now. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
I mean, you remember obviously the killers of James Bolger, and there are other cases as well. It was months before their identities were known. And I'm arguing that a case as toxic as this, I'm afraid, and I don't know whether we do use a judge or whatever it might be, I just don't think the public, because of social media, and that's moved on since the killing of James Bolger, we cannot wait that long.
Yeah, but I think the Bolger thing is very interesting because weren't the boys identified as being Caucasian almost immediately? I wouldn't want to put words in your mouth, but the point is, at the moment, you've got this vacuum of information,
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, the mainstream media is using very roundabouty type phrase, like this person is from Cardiff. Oh, okay, so is he Welsh? No, he's not. Well, his parents aren't from the UK.
Well, no,
okay.
If he was born in Cardiff... Hold on, sir. If he was born in Cardiff, he's Welsh.
Is he?
Well, if he was born in Cardiff, yeah, he's British. And yes, he's Welsh-British. Yeah, of course he is.
So, but this is the problem.
I'm not Swiss, am I?
Well, this is what people... Well... This is what people who are filling the vacuum with untruth information are actually countering that particular conversation with. Is he Welsh? Does he have a British passport?
Well, you see, this, I think you and I both, this is what, you're absolutely right. This is what fuels social media with the speculation that is he this, is he that, or is he that? And that's why you and I are rightly arguing for some kind of change.